Hey, good looking. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks so much for stopping by. Do you like single eyeshadows? Do you like brushes that aren't Morphe? Or how about sunscreen setting sprays? Well, if you do, subscribe to my channel and let's get into this. We've got so much stuff to cover. Let's get started. Without any further ado, I'm Kendra Morgan Official. Guys, I'm duping the brand new Natasha Denona Glam Palette. I'm probably going to call it Mini Glam because she actually released a Mini Glam before she ever released the actual Midi, which is the medium sized. Today, we've got swatches. I've got a couple looks, including the look that you're seeing today. Then I've got kind of my feelings and thoughts on whether or not you need to go out and spend your hard-earned $65 on getting this palette or not. Without any further ado, let's get started. Let's see how well I can dupe it, and that determines whether or not you need to go out and spend your money on this. So let's start with the first shade. Natasha Denona does not actually name any of the shades in her palette. She just gives you outer lid, center lid, lash line, etc., etc. So I'm going to go off of numbers because I'm pretty scientific when it comes to things, and I need you guys to know exactly what I'm talking about. I already see so many people getting the palette and saying this center lid and somebody just not focusing and just going, center eyelid on the second row instead of center eyelid on the third row. I already see it happening and then going, why did my look turn out? Well, that's why, because when you label things the same, people get confused. Natasha Denona starts out with the center eyelid shade 320M, which is described as a dusty light rose. And for that, I found the shade Troops by Sydney Grace to be a fantastic dupe. Next, the outer lid 321M, which is a medium with gray brown. I found Makeup Geek's Egyptian Queen to be a perfect, beautiful dupe for that. I'm trying to use as many Sydney Grace shadows as possible, mixed in with some ColourPop and Anastasia Beverly Hills, but in some cases, I had to use my Makeup Geek. Now, that's not a bad thing. I have the rounds, I have the older version, but Makeup Geek has not come out with very many of their shimmers reformulated yet. So I can't give you any, use the square shade in this if you have the round in this, if you don't have the round in this. I'm going to give you guys the exchange if I can, if I have it, if she's got it out. If not, you'll just have to bear with me. That's what I've got in my stash right now. Inner corner 322M is described as a peachy champagne, and for that I used Sydney Grace's Blushed. On the first row, fourth shade Crease, which is 323CM, Natasha Denona describes the shade as medium cool taupe. For that, I found Makeup Geek's Concrete Jungle to be a beautiful fit. Transition 324CM is described by Natasha Denona as a mushroom gray, and for that I found Sydney Grace's Moon Landing to be a beautiful shade to complement this dupe palette. Second row, first shade 325CM, Natasha Denona describes that as smoke, and it is medium cool brown. I am putting in Makeup Geek's Grunge. And if you are looking to get one of the Makeup Geek shadows, I found Smoke Signal to seem to have the same undertones as Grunge. And so that comes in the square pan, and I think it's relatively close to the round pan Grunge. Natasha Denona, her shade of Blend 326CM, I found Bel Air's or ColourPop's Bel Air to dupe that great, and Natasha describes it as a cool sienna. Lash line 327CM is a deep cool brown. I didn't have any deep cool browns that weren't Makeup Geek rounds, so I went ahead and put in a black Sydney Grace's Midnight, and I feel like it does a really great job. It has an almost warm undertone, so it almost shifts to a brown. But if you've got any medium to dark, deep, cool brown would work perfect. Inner corner 328M is described as abalone, which is basically a light gray. And just like Lauren Mae Beauty put in her dupe palette, I wanted to also incorporate Sydney Grace's Tiara, and that is this shade right here. Natasha Denona describes her center eyelid shade 329M as a medium warm silver. I didn't have any medium warm silvers, but in Lauren Mae Beauty's dupe video of duping the Natasha Denona Glam Palette, she puts a 9-pan palette together and she uses Sydney Grace's Purple Sky, and for that I decided to slip that here in this seat and put Purple Sky. So this is Sydney Grace's Purple Sky, and I think it complements the palette beautifully. Last row, center eyelid 330M is described as a golden nude, and for that I use ColourPop's 20 something, and I feel like that's a beautiful fit. Here's where things get a little bit tricky. Outer eyelid 331M is described as a pecan brown. Now I went ahead and put in Sydney Grace's Tippy Taupe because I think I read in several places that everybody agreed that the Glam palette needed more mattes. So if you feel like you need more mattes, then Sydney Grace's Tippy Taupe would be an excellent suggestion for this spot. If you're really looking to truly dupe shade for shade, then Makeup Geek's round eyeshadow Steampunk would be your best bet. And let me just go ahead and swatch that on the back of my hand. This is a beautiful pecan brown, and it is the shimmer shade. So if you are somebody that really just wants more metallics and you really do like the theme of Natasha Denona's Glam Palette, then you will definitely appreciate the Makeup Geek substitution. But I did read quite a few people wanting more matte heavy palettes, so in that case I went ahead and put in Sydney Grace's Tippy Taupe. Third from the end, center eyelid 332M is described as a light nude. For that I inserted Sydney Grace's Turtle Doves. Natasha Denona's outer eyelid 333M is described as a medium cool brown. And for that, I put in Makeup Geek's Bottom Line. Lastly, on the brow bone, Natasha Denona's 334M, described as a neutral champagne, I put in Sydney Grace's Paris. It's one of the shades that least dupes this, but I feel like it fits so well with this curated palette that I just couldn't bear to not put it in, so I put that in. Let's have a look at the first look that I created the other day. For this look, I buffed in the shade Bel Air into the crease. Bel Air is one of ColourPop's single eyeshadows, and I just buffed that all over the crease. It gave a nice, beautiful, neutral brown on the lid. To deepen the crease, I added Makeup Geek's Concrete Jungle. This provided a very sultry, cool, medium tone on my skin tone look that helped to further deepen my crease. And then guys, what would an eye look be unless I used Sydney Grace's Tiara? So for the lid, I put on Sydney Grace's Tiara, this ultra reflective and metallic looking shadow. To give myself a little bit of definition around the lash line, I added Sydney Grace's Tippy Taupe. I mixed it with a little bit of grunge, but I did add Tippy Taupe first, and then I went in just a little bit and dipped back and forth with my smoke liner brush with grunge to deepen that smoky liner, and back and forth. That gave me a deep enough tone to really add a soft, subtle, almost sultry looking liner. And I think I will also say that I buffed some Concrete Jungle underneath the lower lash line just to give myself a little bit of balance to the look. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this makeup look for today. And for that, I won't insert any secondary film. I'll just let the camera roll. Start with this shade right here. This is Moon Landing by Sydney Grace. Run that up into the crease. Right. Changing brushes, the Smith 235. Focus this more in my crease than the transition area. I'm really cool tone to begin with, and I just feel like this is going to look bruisey really quickly. I've used this color before, and it's really easy to do that with. Okay, next, to help blend out some of this shade, I will take a fluffy blending brush and use one of the neutral shadows, such as this one, Bel Air by ColourPop. Just fluff this into my crease right above to help blend out that color and soften the coolness of the look. Natasha Denona suggests this go to the outer eye, so I guess I'll do that and place this shadow on the outer 1/3 of my lid using a Lydia. It doesn't have a number. It's a Weasel hairbrush. It picks up product really nicely. Next, I want to use one of the champagne shades from the palette. So let's stay with the top row. Let's dip into this shadow, which is Blushed by Sydney Grace. Refer 02. Pick some of that up. Dipping into this shade, which is Concrete Jungle by Makeup Geek. I'll line underneath the lash line. Please. Let's deepen this look just a smidge more. I've used most of the top row, so I think I will dip into the darkest shade in Natasha Denona's palette, which is also the darkest shade in my curated palette, and it's just a matte black. You can use any matte black. This is Sydney Grace's Midnight. Let's start with the Refer 13. Start just right here. Yeah. Just ever so lightly. Grab a liner brush right here, and still staying with this second row, I shall dip into Grunge by Makeup Geek and run that just right under the waterline into the lash line. Just kind of wiggle that in there. With these cool colors, I do notice some fallout, so I'm just gently brushing that away. Alright, I think we've made this icy, cool toned look really come together with the neutral blush from the Sydney Gray shadow. So I'm really happy with the way the look turned out. I'm gonna go ahead and put on some mascara and lashes, and I'll be back in just a snap so you guys can see the full look. Yes, so nice. Let's wrap up this dupe with some thoughts behind whether or not you need to purchase the Glam Palette. Currently, the Natasha Denona Glam Palette retails for $65, and that's a pretty good chunk of change considering the current economic climate that we're in. So I really found that I was able to dupe, if not go above and beyond and a step further. For example, I added Purple Sky, just like Lauren May suggested, and I feel like it's the perfect addition. I really only can create cool toned looks. I have blue eyes, and although I find it complimentary, I don't find it to be something that I want to wear even 3 days out of the 7-day week. If I were to purchase this palette, it wouldn't get used very frequently. It wouldn't be an everyday palette for me. There's a few neutral shades that I put in here, but again, guys, remember, this isn't a matte shade. This is a metallic shade in Natasha Denona's, so there is going to be, that there's a lot of metallic and shimmers in the palette, and quite frankly, several of them look very, very similar on the lid and swatched. I think that if you look side by side, my eyeshadows swatched against Natasha Denona's don't look exactly, but they do follow the same storyline. So I felt like if I can dupe this with the singles that I have, you can dupe this with the palettes that you have and or the singles that you have, and I feel like I did a really good job of proving that and demonstrating for that. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Like this on your way out. It helps me out greatly. And guys, I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.